So following on with the theme of new innovations, and because we've been waiting so patiently, I'm excited to bring on Krishna Nadella, Global Head of Solutions at Symphony, to make some announcements. Krishna, stage is yours.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, what an amazing set of demos we saw today by our community. You know, I get so excited and humbled by what our customers can do with our platform. Now, I know Corinna, then Mike, and now Alexander have teed me up. But before we get to our feature presentation, I have one trailer of a partnership I'd like to embed into our agenda. As the world transitions to voice, video, and chat, we'd like to remind everyone that email is very much a part of our present. So I want to take a moment to pause and talk about Embotica, a partner we're working with on a joint collaboration to address the issue of insight-driven, intelligent email. Behind me on screen, you'll see a live demo of our joint solution being run by our solutions architect, Richard Ring. Thank you, Richard. We optimize tasks based off of email, moving quick exchanges onto Symphony. The ability to then have a much faster follow-through as opposed to having to reply to all on email. All communications are kept in context for tracking and tracing purposes. Where the real power lies in this is in the ability to capture insights in terms of how our teams are spending their time. With powerful metrics like this, teams can now prove their ROI much faster, and more importantly, they can provide efficiencies to their processes. But that was just a taste of what's in store. For those that would like to learn more, both Carl Burton and the Embotica team, Carl Burton, thank you very much, will be available after we wrap up today to talk about our joint collaboration at the demo booths in the back. Okay, thank you for indulging me. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. So for the last several months, the financial services community has been engaging with us on the topics of interconnectivity and interoperability. This is why I am so excited that today, here in London, for the first time, our Embedded Collaboration Platform, or ECP, is now live and available to the community today. Yes. But for those that don't know, you may be asking, Krishna, what is ECP? Fair question. You see, here at Symphony, we believe in an open approach, and that our clients should be able to have access to our capabilities without having to come onto our platform. With ECP, we can now take our capabilities onto our client's tech stack without having to ask them to adopt to ours. Effectively, the people no longer need to come to the platform will come to the people. Or to paraphrase a quote from one of my favorite Marvel movies, Thor Ragnarok, and no, it's not he's a friend from work. It is this. Symphony is not just a platform. It never was. This is Symphony. This is Symphony. Most importantly, we are all Symphony. Symphony is where and how our people work. With ECP, our people can now work by taking Symphony onto their platforms to keep in context, provide persistent chat, and most importantly, bridge silos across the industry. But I want to do more than just talk about our embedded collaboration platform. I want to show how it fits within the powerful set of Symphony tools. So our first demo today will show how ECP works with SmartTrade, a technology platform that connects to regulated venues and supports various workflows. ECP will allow Symphony to connect to SmartTrade's inflation workflow, providing more efficient communication to allow traders to speak with their clients on Symphony. To that end, it is my privilege and pleasure to invite both my colleagues and friends, Rob Friend and Maysa Baladi, on stage to show you this in action. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna. Hi, everyone. My name's Rob Friend. I'm a Senior Product Director here at Symphony, looking after the Solutions and Extensibility team. I'm here on stage with my colleague Maysa, and over the back there we've got our live demo runners, Alex and Rich. So if you guys want to give us a quick wave, there they are. They're going to be helping out today, so thank you, guys.
Thanks, Rob. And you have to hand it to the Innovate committee for their artistic direction, I would say, in pairing one of the tallest employees at Symphony with one of the shortest for this demo. But so just to introduce myself quickly, my name is Maysa Baladi. I work on customer success, partnering with clients and users to improve workflows, discuss use cases, and ultimately make sure you are optimizing your use of Symphony. And a lot of what we're going to show today in the demos is at the heart of many discussions that I've had with clients, in that users, to the extent possible, would like to have as much information, as much data that they need to successfully complete their workflow, as well as to connect with their key contacts and clients in one centralized place.
So today we're going to be showing you two demos. The first one is going to be focusing on the pre-trade workflow. The second is going to be in the post-trade workflow, and that will show us smart desktops in action. But for the first demo, we're going to be looking at an FX market maker who's talking to their client about inflation and the effect it's going to have on the market.
Okay, so again, before we kick off, another thank you to Alex and Rich, who are actually pulling the strings live as Rob and I walk you through it and try to actually keep up with what's happening on the screen. So thank you, Alex and Rich, for pulling up those demos. So let's pretend for the next 10 minutes that I am a liquidity provider at a bank, and Rob is one of my clients whom I connect to on a daily basis via a platform called SmartTrade. So just to illustrate this, behind me on the screen, you'll have an example of a bank's own internal sales screen that is powered by SmartTrade. So let's break down what we're seeing on the screen. Behind me, you'll have an example of a bank's SmartTrade environment where I'll have that data and critical information that I need to do my job. So in this case, we have live market rates updating in real time. And then to the right of the screen, Alex, if you would do the honors, what we're going to pull open is the Symphony Embedded Collaboration Platform. So this is it. This is Symphony ECP. This is where the magic happens. And what I mean by that is that all the while remaining in my bank's SmartTrade environment, so that platform that I need to live in and breathe in to do my job, I am able to access my key Symphony chats. These are my conversations with my team internally at the bank. These are my chats with my clients, like my chat with Rob. And it also allows me to access my messages and alerts from my Symphony bots. So to illustrate this, as well as you can see, we have a lot of flexibility when it comes to ECP. So this is just one example of how you can embed Symphony in a platform. Here you can expand and collapse it. You can also position it differently depending on the need, the number of chats you have open, and the platform that it's actually embedded in.
So as Maysa said, this is ECP, or the Embedded Collaboration Platform, in action. And here we've got it in SmartTrade on the sell side. But let's just imagine for a second on the buy side where I live, this could easily be in my internal research platform. So you could imagine that this is a platform where I've got my research, I can have all the chats around the various companies that my firm covers, and I can have live chats within my firm alongside that research that my analysts are producing. So that's one example. I could also embed this inside my portfolio management system. So all my PMs can talk to each other throughout the day without having to leave that environment they love to be in. If you're in the operations side of things, you could imagine that this is a workflow tool, and we have a bunch of cases that are being dealt with. And inside each case, I can embed a Symphony chat. So the possibilities are really endless, and that's why we think this is a really powerful tool.
Awesome. OK, so back to my daily workflow and back to the demo. So the first thing I do when I get to the office in the morning is open up my bank's SmartTrade environment. Wait, no, actually, sorry. The first thing I do is down 3 cups of coffee. Now, if I want this demo to be realistic, I should be honest with what the daily routine is at the bank. So once I've done that, perhaps some in the audience and on the live stream can relate. Once I've done that, coffee's done, I'm back at my desk. Rather than needing to proactively go through several applications in the search for information, news that have been posted overnight, or in the early hours of the morning, information that's critical that I'd want to transfer over to my clients, I'm able to more or less sit back, enjoy my 4th cup of coffee, and instead receive via Symphony bots, again, this is all the while remaining in my bank's smart trade environment, alerts from those bots letting me know of that critical information. So here, as we can see, I've just received a Symphony alert, a message, inside my bank's smart trade environment. So this is from our EcoBot, letting me know that the inflation rates we've been expecting have just been published. Now, I know my client, Rob, is going to want to see this. But before I send him that information, just to let everyone know the dynamic between Rob and I for the rest of the demo. So how should I say this? We all have a Rob in our lives. Rob is one of those clients who is not the easiest to handle. He is incredibly demanding, but pushes me to be my best professional self and always deliver excellent customer service, or at least I'd like to think so. So since I know my client so well, I know that he currently is not at his desk with his monitor and his Symphony open. In fact, he is presenting at the Symphony Innovate conference. In order to get that information to him as quickly as possible, I am going to, from my Symphony ECP, take that information and send it from my Symphony to Rob's WhatsApp number. So this will allow me to remain in a compliant chat environment, but also reach my clients where they are with that important information.
That is a big phone. All right. So thank you, Maysa. I can see the inflation number has come through. It's actually a lot higher than people were expecting. So that's definitely going to have an impact on the market. Rich, if you wouldn't mind just responding to Maysa, that'd be great. So thanks, but I'm a bit busy right now, just doing an Innovate demo. So what you've just seen is, as easy as that, Maysa was able to log into her technology platform, Smart Trade. She was able to connect to Symphony through ECP. She was able to receive the information she needed when she wanted it without leaving that environment. And then she was able to seamlessly connect with her clients, reducing all the friction and improving her customer service. So really a powerful solution.
Cool. So other than that poor timing on my part, sorry, I thought I was doing him a favor and pinging him during the conference, this sounds like a mission accomplished to me. So we also wanted to thank the Smart Trade team for partnering with us to build out this demo. So Smart Trade are in the audience today. If you're here, would you mind giving a quick wave? There they are. All right, in the middle. So you know where to find them if you have questions at the break. But before that, Rob, you did mention we had 2 demos to show.
We do, yes. So Maysa, why don't you get us started?
All right, definitely. So back in November at our New York Innovate conference, as some of you may recall, we dove into the concepts of FDC3 and the future of interoperability. Okay, I'm glad those came out well because there are a lot of syllables in those words. But what we wanted to do today, as mentioned earlier, is continue on those discussions, show you the latest Symphony innovations in this space since our conference in November, and above all, show you how we've built on those products and topics that we showcased back in November.
That's right. So we're going to stay in the FX space for this demo. We're going to move into post-trade world, and we're going to show you smart desktops in action, both on the buy side and on the sell side, and with Symphony as that connection between the two. So first of all, what's smart about these desktops? Well, they use a protocol called FDC3 to communicate amongst themselves, so passing data and context across the desktop to allow the applications to talk to each other. It's pretty powerful stuff. And now in this demo, and the guys have brought the screens up behind us, which is great, we're actually going to have 5 applications talking to each other. We're going to have Finsomble managing the windows. We've got Chart IQ. We've got a application called Tradefeedr, we've got My Firm's Blotter, and we've got Symphony. So there's going to be a lot going on. I know it's been a long day, but you're going to have to bear with us. We will help you through this, but it is pretty cool. So let's get going.
Okay, so just for the context of this demo, so for the roles, I am still playing the sell side, and Rob, well, there hasn't been much character development. He's still my high maintenance, albeit lovable, it's okay, buy side client. And just so we can follow along, so behind me, so to your left, this is the screen that I'll see every morning when I log into my computer at the bank. So this is the sell side. And then to your right, behind Rob, that'll be the screen that he sees when he logs in the morning.
So Maysa said earlier, everyone has a Rob in their life. I like to think I'm the best Rob there is. So I'm really important in my firm. What my job in the firm is to make money. And you've all heard the phrase that time is money, so I want to save time where I can. So I have this smart desktop. Actually, I got it about a couple of weeks ago, and I love it. It is awesome. And let me show you why it's awesome. So I'm a big trader in the FX market. I was trading sterling dollars yesterday. Rich, if you could just put the blotter up and bring up my sterling dollar trades for me. Everyone should have a Rich, by the way. He's great. So what we're going to do is, there's one of these trades, yeah, I think it's the third one. If you just click on that chart IQ, boom. So this chart that has just come up, that looks kind of, wow, it's just a chart that just came up. My old desktop, what I would have had to do there, I would have had a look at that order, then I would have loaded the chart, then I'd have to make the security load, then maybe check I got the right time frame, and then make sure the fills came through properly. All of that in one click. Awesome, love it. So what can I do with this now? Rich, if you just drill into this, I'd just like to check on Maysa's performance, because I like to keep her on her toes. So what we've got here behind me, I don't know if you can see it there, the little purple circles are the fills of the algos that her bank has provided to me, and I can see there's some little red bars there which show that she was filling me slightly off the market. So obviously I want to find out a little bit more about that, so maybe I can look into something else I've got on my desktop. So you can see another little icon up there, the TF, for Tradefeedr. So Tradefeedr is a transaction cost analysis tool. So it takes data from about 16 different dealers and about 8 different trading platforms and provides performance analysis. So this very colorful chart here is showing me how the algos I've traded with Maysa have performed in the past. The yellow dot there is showing me that yesterday's algo actually ran about 3 basis points better than average. So actually, the algo ran pretty well. But I did have some fills that were slightly away from the mid. So I want to check what Maysa thinks, keep her on her toes, like I said. And so, Rich, if you wouldn't mind, can we just share this chart over to Symphony? So you can see Rich has just sent as a chat, again, one click, love it, saves me time. And then maybe just ask that question for us. So we're just going to ask the question to Maysa, and then we'll see if she can come back to me and tell me what was going on. There we go.
Okay, wonderful. So Rob has just come through on Symphony.
Any second now.
There we go. So as Rob was mentioning, he's asking about the sterling dollar orders. So what I'm going to do is taking that data, that message that Rob sent in the Symphony chat, is click on the blue view chart icon. So this, in turn, is going to open my own internal charting application so that I can dig a bit deeper into the data, investigate what's going on in an interactive way. So in this example, I am also using Chart IQ. But in reality, this could be any FDC3-enabled application that you're familiar with, that you use every day, that you have on your desks. So you'll also notice that from my Chart IQ application, from my internal charting application, I'm able to then send that data, so around that same currency pair question, straight to my bank's internal blotter, which will allow me to filter the blotter at my bank for all the closed trades that I have in that currency pair. So that'll allow me to see what's going on and get back to Rob's query. Before I do so, however, there's one thing I want to point out. So at the very top right of my Symphony chat with Rob, you'll notice a purple Microsoft Teams button. Now, thanks to this Microsoft Teams integration, with the click of a button, I'm able to launch a Microsoft Teams voice, video, or screen share meeting with any of my Symphony contacts. So let's say I want to hop on a quick voice and video call with Rob to walk through my findings in more depth or live. Or let's say I need to quickly ring my whole team to ask them if they can hop on or take a look at the chart as well. I can do all of that with the click of a button. And as you'll remember, I know Mike mentioned this at the start of the conference, we had announced our integration with Zoom at our New York Innovate conference. And now we're very pleased to say that our integration with Microsoft Teams is live. So through this, what we want is to give you the flexibility to integrate Symphony with your video conferencing platform and system of choice. But now, I know that Rob is very busy. I'm not going to ping him again in the middle of the conference. We've already made that mistake. So I'm just going to send him a good old Symphony message. Those never get old, with my findings. So I'll let him know that the algo did indeed perform well. I'll reassure him, and that we were just a few basis points off mid. There you go, Rob.
Good stuff. All right, so Maysa's on her game. She actually
Think
got
that's
the
kept
answer
you happy?
Yeah, well, let's see. I'm not quite done. Now, I know that Maysa's got a smart desktop, so I'm going to ask her another question and see if she can figure this one out. So, Maysa, can you give me some information about euro-dollar performance? I'd like to know how your bank's been doing.
Yeah, there's never just one question from Rob. I should have known.
All right, thanks, Rich.
OK, great. So Rob has come through again. This time he's asking about the euro-dollar orders. So as I did before, I'm going to use that same data in the message. I'm going to hover over the ticker in Rob's message, and this time send that data straight to my bank's internal blotter. So I can go straight as well from Symphony to the blotter. And this will allow me, again, to see what's going on. So as Rob was mentioning earlier, we're really highlighting here the power of interoperability in that taking data from one application, I'm able to open and launch another application without needing to sign in again, and with that application being already configured or filtered according to the data that it was launched from. So saving me a lot of time. And as Rob was pointing to earlier, we have the TF Tradefeedr symbol next to each closed trade. So I'm just going to click on one of those to open up the Tradefeedr report in that same way. So this Tradefeedr report will allow me to see all the algos that my bank provides, so I can evaluate how they've performed. And I think this is going to be key to answering Rob's question and should keep him at bay. So rather than copy-pasting this data or taking a screenshot of it and then manually sending it over, I'm simply going to click on the Share button that's at the top of my Tradefeedr report, go back into Symphony, where I can send Rob a personalized Symphony message. It'll contain the Tradefeedr report and attachments, and I can provide additional color, ask him how he's doing, etc. So there you go. You have it back in Symphony.
There it is. Not bad. 2 minutes to respond, Maysa. I think that's probably acceptable. Some of my dealers take more like 2 hours, sometimes 2 days. So I think that smart desktop is really doing the job. OK. So I think we're done.
Not quite.
Oh.
Now that my client is finally happy, there's one thing I'd love to know of him. So I'd like to know how my bank stacks up against the competition. And so for that, I'm going to see if Rob can send me some peer analysis. In fact, I'm going to see if he can send that peer analysis to my whole FX analytics team. And at my bank, we've set up a Symphony group just for this sort of thing, just so that Rob has a channel to reach my team independently of who's on call or who's covering that account, given that there is a lot of change internally at the bank.
All right, so you can see the message there asking for that report. So Rich, if you wouldn't mind sending that over to the group that Maysa asked. And while you do that, I'll just explain a bit more about what groups are. So Symphony Groups was released at the end of last year. It's very similar to how email distribution lists work, except it has the power of the Symphony Instant Chat and the Symphony directory behind it. So it's used to really be able to communicate with a group without really knowing whether an individual is active or not. So really powerful. We can use this both in middle office, back office, as well as the front office, which we're showing you here.
Awesome.
So I think
OK, so looks like the peer analysis has come through. And again, this is to my whole FX analytics team without Rob knowing who's on the team or who's going to respond. And it looks like we've ranked second out of the 8 peer banks.
Pretty good.
Not bad. OK, so if we look on my group view, if I go into the membership list of that group, given that this group was created by my bank, this is my team, I can see on an individualized level who are all the members in this group. Just to ensure that my team remain aligned, I can see who's typing in the chat, I can see who's responding to Rob, so that we ensure continuous client coverage.
And then on my screen, you can see that I don't really get to see any of that detail. And when we go to the chat, I just see the actual group responding to me. So it's completely anonymous to me. So as we said, really helpful feature. OK, so that brings us to the end of the live demo. Just to recap what we've just seen. We've just seen smart desktops in action. We saw them on the buy side. We've seen them on the sell side. We've seen Symphony as that connection point between the two. We also talked about the Microsoft Teams integration that's now live, and how you can use groups really to help with your workflow.
And as ever, a big thank you to our partners Tradefeedr and Cosaic, who helped us build out this demo. So Cosaic and Tradefeedr teams, if you're out there, please give a quick wave.
There's somewhere out there.
Yeah, there you are. OK, in the top left, so everyone knows where you are. Yeah, we can clap.
Thank you, guys. And so now it's my pleasure to invite onto the stage the CEO of Tradefeedr, Balraj Bassi. Balraj. Welcome. Welcome. How's it going?
Good, yeah, good.
Good, all right. So first question for you, Balraj. We showed Tradefeedr a little bit there, but can you tell us a bit more about it and what the vision is for your product?
The sales pitch.
Yeah, give us a sales pitch.
Okay, Tradefeedr is the first open banking type data API, data platform that's been launched for financial markets, specifically starting with FX. And our goal is quite simple. We want to interconnect all liquidity providers, all trading platforms to their clients via a single unified API, thereby allowing any buy-side client to simply query and analyze their trading data regardless of the trading pipe used. And once they can build their own analysis to suit their own workflows, they can then go back and collaborate with their LPs because the data is visible to both sides. So really what we're trying to do is create this new data layer, a new way of buy and sell sides and platforms interacting on their shared data assets. Ambitious project, took us about 3 years, but now we have 16 banks signed, 8 trading platforms for FX, and we're planning to go into other asset classes and roll out to more and more clients.
Wonderful. So Balraj, how does the partnership between Tradefeedr and Symphony contribute to the buy-side and sell-side interaction?
Well, I'm excited to work with you guys, specifically because of the demo you guys have created here. You can show that if you're having a bilateral conversation, the ability to inject your bilateral trading data with all the analysis on the fly is a very powerful way to start a real data-driven dialogue, because you can pre-build your reports and the type of analysis you want to share if you're a buy-side client. You can pre-build the analytics you want to share if you're a sell-side client, and now you have direct, instantaneous data-driven dialogue where all the numbers are created independently, so trusted numbers and full transparency. And that's kind of like what we call layer one. If you fast forward it, if you think about natural language processing, we're going to add more and more tools where you don't need to be a programmer anymore to ask complex questions. You get your analytics built for you. And because it's an API first, these are just some of the ideas we have. What we found is once you release APIs to clients, they'll find their own ways of using it, embedding it in their workflows, ideas that we probably haven't even thought about yet. So we're just at the early stages of kind of transforming how trading data flows between all different market participants.
So that's a pretty grand vision that you've got there. What are some of the challenges you've faced in bringing that to life?
You mean the blood, sweat, and tears part? I put on 10 kilos, just sitting there working. No, but in all honesty, it's difficult. Once you actually start collecting trading data from all the different venues and platforms, you have issues on normalization, you have issues on standardization, issues around market data, issues on how do you actually do all the compute. Our largest client does 1 million trades a day, which you've got to analyze. So how do you create a segregated, secure environment? How do you get a single data agreement? How do you get the entire market to sign a single data agreement so the data flows are transparent? So you really had to, we had to start from the basement up and build it layer by layer. Transparent legal agreements, powerful multi-tenant architecture, APIs, and then the hard stuff. That's just the easy part. The hard part starts, and then you have to build the workflows and embed it into clients' workflows, and this is kind of where we are right now.
Awesome. All right, looks like we have time for one more question. So for anyone who hasn't yet seen the platform beyond what we saw in the demo, where's the best place for them to go to find out more?
If there's a bar, I'll be hanging
in the bar
out.
later.
You'll be there?
Great
Okay,
answer.
we'll see you at
the
bar.
Thanks, guys.
Brilliant. Thank you, Balraj. All right, thank you, Balraj. And now it's my pleasure to hand over to Michael Lynch, who's joined on stage by our CIO, Dietmar Fauser.
Thank you.
So far, so good. Very exciting, huh?
No. Okay, keep talking. There we go. Now I can hear myself. Thanks to Rob. Thanks to Balraj. And thanks. I think I want to take a moment to thank our team. These demos and everything you've seen today came together with an amazing amount of work on nights, weekends, by not only our teams at Symphony, but our partner teams, and the level of collaboration and work together was truly amazing. And we thank everybody who was involved, many of whom are watching, some of them who are now a little bit less stressed now that the demos are over, and we really do appreciate everyone's hard work making that happen. In terms of just to kind of remind you of, when I was up here earlier today, I talked about this concept of signal velocity. What Symphony is focused on trying to help you get your message from point A to point B as quickly as possible, and how you can help you connect to your counterparties, your customers, your colleagues as quickly as possible. And in that theme, our omni-channel demo, we showed our StreetLinks integration, our Cloud9 integration, and of course our Federation product, helping you shorten that distance. In our workflow connectivity demo, which you just saw, we talked about our embedded collaboration platform, our Teams integration, and our new desktop interop capabilities, helping you remove as much workflow friction as possible, getting to that answer quicker. And of course, everything you've seen was harmonized via our desktop Symphony 2.0 platform, enabling seamless connectivity across these channels and across these workflows. But that's what I was excited about. Dietmar, what struck you as you saw these demos today and seeing the work of your teams today?
So first of all, what excites me most really is to be here on stage with all of you. It's great to see the energy, to see you all here in person after 2 years of essentially video meetings, sitting at home. So that's cool. We have seen a lot of content today, very interesting things, lots of partners and customers of us who presented. So it's a bit hard to single out one particular topic. What I'm particularly proud about our teams have done the integration of Cloud9 into the Symphony platform. That's a great achievement. I mean, the acquisition took place last summer, so we have announced it in New York, and here now Instant Voice is there. It's in the product, so big kudos to product and engineering. So really proud of this. Interoperability is another one that I think kind of is very interesting. We have seen the integration just right now, Tradefeedr, Cosaic, based on a common standard underneath FTC3. Which is driven by the open source foundation Finos. By the way, I'm a member of the boards of Finos, and we see a lot of traction here coming up. That is a great example of how we can take friction out of the workflows. So just solving lots of smaller, medium-sized issues that we all face every day, like multiple logons into different desktop platforms, rekeying when you just push a context from one application into another. FTC3 is there to solve these problems, and we take a strong lead here because we believe that this solves a lot of problems, perhaps not fundamental problems, but painful, time-consuming, and error-prone stuff that is just there because humans are involved. Interoperability also, I found the panel the fireside discussion very interesting, very thoughtful discussions around open communication, accountability, transparency in the way we communicate. So we take some pride here also to solve communication issues. Of course, that's our raison d'être, our reason to be in what we are doing. So
yeah. No, I think
lots of things, and yeah, the partners we work with, just to see the stuff that is built upon the Symphony product, the platform, to see that Symphony is embedded in other platforms. So we don't want to do everything, but we want to ensure that communication is secure, is in a safe, regulated space, even if we branch out in end consumer networks like WhatsApp, WeChat. So I'm really excited. That's great.
No, I think it's just to kind of piggyback on what you said around embeddability. our customers have wanted Symphony to create this embeddability capability for quite some time. I, as a customer, wanted to be able to do this with Symphony because I had applications, I had capabilities that I knew had structured data, had structured workflows, but the value of bringing that unstructured collaboration in, around, and above that was so critical. But building unstructured collaboration is incredibly complex, especially in our world when we have to talk about encryption, compliance, surveillance, DLP, all the data loss prevention, all these capabilities that make what seems patently simple incredibly complicated. And now we can enable Symphony as a collaboration backbone across the industry for our partner ecosystem, and really, I think, drive the kind of flexibility and openness. And I think openness is obviously a key word for us. We talked about openness in the panel today and this idea of openness and transparency. You're on the board of Finos. Let's talk a little bit about open source and Symphony's philosophy and our approach, as well as sort of our view of open source in the industry going forward.
So perhaps first a quick thought on open source in general. So open source is a great tool to solve common problems, basically, that we all face. We have seen, and sometimes take costly vendors out of the game also. We have seen, the mother of all examples is Linux, of course, but that has destroyed the operating system market for enterprises. Everything runs on Linux. We have seen other big projects, Kubernetes and stuff like this. And I see really strong traction now in the financial industry to leverage open source in quite some different spaces. So FTC3, we talked about, is one. Common models for asset classes. There are tons of projects running in Finos, which is part of the Linux Foundation, by the way. And what is really good is that in the Finos space, we see now the big tech providers. Google has just joined, but also more and more buy-side firms are coming to the table. It was a little sell-side, large bank-driven, so it's more. I think there is a better balance, and this shows that the whole industry starts to embrace it. And that's really cool because we don't compete on things like standards. We don't compete on modeling of asset classes. At least most of us don't. So it's just a good tool to solve together problems that are faced by everyone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think in terms of, as we talk about things that are faced by everybody, we talk a lot internally about the concepts of Web3, decentralized finance, blockchain, and how they're going to influence our future development as well as the market in general. And we want to be a disruptor in this space. We have plans of our own. And one of the concepts that we talk a lot about, and this is where we're starting to look a little bit more towards the future, is this concept of self-sovereign identity, which is this concept of a decentralized mechanism for identity. Now, I'd love to talk a little about that. Now, I just want to remind you before we get started, though, Dietmar, we've got drinks in like 40 minutes. Let's keep it to like 2-3 hours maximum for the audience. I think they've seen a lot today. So
I was just smiling. It's dangerous to get me going on distributed technology. So decentralization is a matter of society, first to start with. We have seen, and I very much believe in cycles or pendulum type of behavior of the overall evolution. And so we have seen concentration onto the cloud. Now with the DeFi, we see distribution. Of course, cryptocurrency is the example we all have in mind. But as you mentioned, SSI, so self-sovereign identity, that is a very big thing coming up. So if you look at it, so identity currently and in the past was mostly driven by central authorities of identity, so Google, Facebook, and those guys, which causes quite some questions on trust and data ownership, data sovereignty, all of this. We have heard in the fireside chat about this. Then we went into federation of identity and authentication, which means basically that you delegate to a system. So you can, in many situations, you can use Facebook to log into any other application. And here we see the beginning of a big trend that is self-sovereign identity, where individuals or things or applications bring their own identity. So you walk around with a crypto wallet that can be a device that is authenticated to yourself, like a smartwatch or something like this. And with this, you're bringing the pieces of your identity that you want to provide to a system, and the data is not hosted into the system. And with the distributed technologies of blockchains and ledgers, there is a notion coming up that is called verified credentials, that gives like the authority lists or the things you can do on data and on workflows, for example, and that are managed by a decentralized technology. So there is no central authority anymore in which you have trust that can disappear and that causes all type of issues. So, and we're going to see this. I take any bet that in 5 years we will mostly walk around with a small device in which we store our driving licenses, our mortgage stuff, our passports, and you just use this to connect into a system. And I think this will have deep impacts on global workflows, like know your customer onboarding. And there is a deep simplification coming up, but big changes. So keep this in mind. SSI is something that we will hear and talk a lot about this. And with our directory strategy, of course, we look into this. And I'm pretty hopeful that in New York we're gonna tell more about this.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't 3 hours, was it? So
Yeah. You got to. More or less. No, that was wonderful. And I think, as we look at, this concept of self-sovereign identity and then the reality of where the capital markets are today in terms of managing these platforms, we have users that just dream of seamless sign-on and a passwordless authentication model. And we have a ways to go in our market. And I think this is an exciting space for Symphony. So we talked a little bit, hopefully that hints a little bit about some of the topics that we'll be talking about and sharing in October in New York. But we've got our final panel of the day, and most importantly for us at Symphony, we want to make sure we heard from our customers. So I'm going to hand it off to Alexandra to introduce our final panel. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.